Hey everybody! In a previous video, I created this scene that you see on screen right now using stand-in scale reference mannequins. And in this video, I think that I'm going to replace some of these mannequins with animated CG characters. I'm thinking a couple of scientists, perhaps one with a clipboard, and they're conversing in this space. And in a future video, I will add myself as a live action performer to this same scene so that when all of the work is completed, we will have the work we see here, which began as an exercise in quickly building a virtual environment, setting up a shot, and then creating visual fidelity via post-processing effects such as global screen space, global illumination, ambient occlusion, and the like. That was video one. Today's video is going to be putting in CG characters, which I will download, and then giving them animations and walking through the process of customizing animations that already exist to suit your custom needs. The reason for this is we could animate everything from scratch. That's a lot of work, and I am one person, and you're probably a small team too. So why not start with existing animation libraries and then customize them to suit your specific needs? That's the workflow today. So we're going to set up an existing character to accept animations in Unity, and then we're going to animate them via timeline. Yes, that's what we will do. So without further ado, let's dive in. I have already found models on Sketchfab, free models of two scientists. And so here's one scientist here in the preview. We have this man here, an older gentleman with glasses in a lab coat. We have a younger scientist here, also with a lab coat, and I have a clipboard which has no preview. That's okay. It's there. I know it is. These are USD files which I downloaded from Sketchfab. Free file downloads. So they are in the USD format, and we need to modify them into an FBX format. Why? Why would we need to do that? Well, in order to work with animations on characters, typically when you select a character in a T-pose in your project folder that is an FBX, there will be tabs in the inspector for rig, animation, model, and materials. But USD does not have this available to us, so we cannot set up a rig easily. So what we will do is we will go into the package manager and we will add the FBX exporter. So I have done this. You find it in the Unity registry. Just search for FBX exporter and just download it to your project. And that will give you the tools that you need. You will find the FBX exporter in the menu. So first, let's just go ahead and do this. We'll find the FBX exporter under Game Object and convert to FBX. But before we convert to FBX, we need to examine the hierarchy of our character because the names of the bones matter. So I'm going to just dial down into the hierarchy. I'm going to option click to unfurl everything at once. Yes, here we see under skeleton, we have just a lot of arbitrary names in and a number. So I'm going to zero in on my character. Oh, he's way out here. It's all right. We're just doing a setup, so he can be out here. That's perfectly fine. What we want to do is first find where his hips may be. Hips. All right. So it looks like N15 will be named hips. I'm not making these names up. You can search online, um, and we need bones for the following. We need the root object, which is hips. We need spine, chest, neck, head, left upper leg, left lower leg, left leg, right upper leg, right lower leg, right foot, left shoulder, left upper arm, left lower arm, left head, right shoulder, right upper arm, right lower arm, right hand. Those are the specific names that Unity expects. So I'm not pulling these names out of thin air. I'm consulting with documentation. So we have hips. I'm going to find the head. Just arbitrarily click around until I find it. Ooh, it looks like I might be close. N31, N42. No. So maybe. Um, to make, because there's so much going on, I'm going to. All right, let's familiarize ourselves with the chaos of arbitrary names. Okay, all right. So this, if I zoom in, looks like a finger. Yes. A digit, another digit, another digit. All right, so we're on digits, and this hand. So we're probably looking at, this is likely the hand, lower arm, upper arm, shoulder. Yes. Great. So usually these are a 4-bone system, but it's not always that case. So you always want to do a little bit of exploration. These were digits, 4 bones. So this is his right hand. This is his right lower arm, right upper arm, and right shoulder. Very good. We don't need to worry about his fingers. So, fingers, 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 fingers. I'm assuming that, yep, we have symmetrically placed in the hierarchy. We have his right hand or left hand and left shoulder. All right. So we will rename N39 to left hand, left lower arm, and left upper arm, left shoulder. Not all models will require this step of renaming things. Everyone makes their armatures differently, and they make them for a variety of end use cases. So for Unity, this specific model requires this effort. Your model may not. Your model may also have an entirely different naming convention going on. That's entirely possible. This looks like to be a skeletal chain. So let's say head, neck, chest, spine 1, 2, and 3. That seems to be correct. So N31 I will rename to head, neck, chest. All spines have different numbers as well. So if yours let's say you will all let's say this. It's guaranteed your character will always have a head. Well, not guaranteed, I suppose. You might be making a zombie movie where there is no head. However, most characters have a head, followed by a neck. Below the neck, the first item is the chest. That's usually how Unity recognizes. So head, neck, chest. Then following that, you may have 3 spines, 4 spines, 1 spine. The number may vary. So the way that Unity expects things is for it to be head, neck, chest, and then a count down from 3, spine 2, spine 1, hips. So with that being said, I'm going to rename this to spine 3, spine 2, spine 1, and see how this leg is set up. So we need upper leg, lower leg, and foot, but we have 4. So what might this one be? It's likely, like digits, we don't need to use them for our animation in this case. So I'm going to name this toes, right toes. Now I'm going to go with what Unity requires. Right foot, right lower leg, right upper leg. And let's repeat the process for the other leg. Okay, beautiful. Here it is. Left toes. Can be named anything. This is arbitrary because toes aren't a mandatory field. Left foot, mandatory. Expected anyway. Left lower leg. Left upper leg. Let's see if we're missing anything. Okay, his tie has bones. This means we can animate his tie if we want. We are not going to in this case, but I am going to simply just name this upper tie and lower tie. Speaking of accessories, this character has glasses. Where are his glasses situated? They're not in his skeleton. They are up here in the... Okay, so here's something to think about. When a character possesses any kind of separate items, such as glasses, but they are not contained within the skeletal structure, then when we animate the character, his head will move and his glasses will not. Or they will move but not properly in relation to his face. So I'm going to rename his glasses. Let's find them all though. Okay. So I will rename this object to glasses. In order to move his glasses to a different position in the hierarchy, I first need to unpack the prefab. I'll do this by selecting the uppermost game object, choose prefab, and unpack completely. I'm now free to move the glasses game object and position them as a child of his head game object. They're in the same position, but now they will move wherever his head moves. He turns his head, his glasses will turn. All right, safety check. Let's make sure we've got everything. We've got hips down to his left leg. Got everything for his right leg. We have his main spine to his head. We have his left shoulder and left full arm. We have his right arm. Tie is extraneous. We don't have to worry about that. Beautiful. We're done with Scientist 1. Before we move on to other things, let's go ahead and do Scientist 2. Ooh, you can tell that these characters are not at all the same scale. We will address that when we start putting our scene together. Let me unfurl everything. This is a whole other model, so the naming convention may be different, but it looks like it's the same. So let us find the correct nodes. Foot, lower leg, upper leg. Okay. So we will call this left toes. This is a real-time work session, so it's not pretty. It's not, I'm not moving past things. I'm just, you're with me in the real amount of time that it takes me to do a thing. So uh, I hope you don't mind that. Left foot. This is right. I need to make sure I didn't mess up the other one either. I may have. You may have been screaming at me the entire time. Let's check this guy. Uh, no, I did it correctly. Right and left. Beautiful. All right, good. So I do know what I'm doing. Right lower leg, right upper leg, left toes. So what would happen if I got this hierarchy wrong, and let's say that I made the lower leg. Let's say I started at the very bottom, and I made the toes the foot the lower leg, and the lower leg the upper leg. It would look like he was standing on his toes. The animation would be weird. It would be strange. So it's very important to get the bones named correctly, because the avatar system that we will set up next will depend on the names that we provide the bones right now. Sometimes it's difficult to talk and do things at the same time. But we do manage, don't we? You must be hips. Hips, lower leg, right leg, or left leg, right leg. So head, neck, chest, spine, 3, 2, and 1. Yes. Cool. Head, neck, chest, spine 3, spine 2, spine 1. We're almost there. We are almost there. Beautiful. Arms. So this will be shoulder. So let's make sure we've got digits. So hand, lower arm, upper arm, shoulder. Left hand, left lower arm, left upper arm, left shoulder. We do not need to worry about we don't need to name his digits. Shoulder, upper, lower, hand. Right hand, right lower arm, right upper arm, and right shoulder. Thank you for keeping me company on this work session. I do appreciate it. I do. I hope that you will gain some knowledge simply by not because I know what I'm doing, but because you're investing in yourself. You're watching. You're learning through observation. I like that about you. Um, all right, we've got. Looks like everything's in place. So, all right, now let us export our properly named characters into FBX. I could scale these properly now, absolutely, but there's no right or wrong way to do it. I'm going to save the scaling step for later because I want to show you how I scale in relation to the scene and the scale reference models that I have. So we'll select this scientist, rename this scientist. I'll rename them to look similar. All right. So with scientist 1 selected, I will choose menu game object, export to FBX. The path is, I've already set this correctly. Yes, we will double check. I'll place it in my hanger folder in the scenes, hanger scenes, within the character folder. I'm going to create a new folder called FBX characters. And let's look at the rest of the settings. Everything can stay the same. We are going to have to set up the textures. That's just going to be an issue going from USD to FBX. So we don't need to embed the textures. We can just leave this all as is and export. I will do the same we will see that we now have a character scientist 1 here. I'm going to do the same thing for scientist number 2, menu game object, export to FBX, and settings as is, export. Now we have 2 characters. So what we need to do is give our characters proper materials because we can see that our FBXs do not have the textures and materials that they require. So how do we do this? Select the game object within the project window. And here's that tab that I was telling you about, model, rig, animation, and materials. FBX has it, USD does not. This is why we did that whole workflow, to gain access to these import settings within the inspector. Only available to FBX. I felt that sneeze coming on. Okay, let's look at materials. These are the materials needed, and so they did not come over. They are not here. So how do we gain access to them? I'm going to lock this inspector in place, and I'm going to choose characters, scientist one. This is the USD from Sketchfab. I'm going to select the materials contained within the USD. I'm going to Command D to duplicate them outside of the USD. And then I'm going to move them into the FBX characters folder. And these are the materials for character one. So I'm going to create a new folder for scientist one. I'm going to move all of scientist one associated files into his own folder. So I can just now drag and drop the materials into the slots on the FBX. We will not see them update immediately, so just match them by name. We will only see the effect after we save and hit apply. So don't get discouraged or wonder why it's not working for you. All right, so we've got everything assigned. I will hit apply and we will see the change occur. Look, beautiful. We now have a skinned character. Let's do the same for our scientist number two. Create a folder first and foremost. Scientist two. Move him into it and let's go grab his materials. Ooh, he has an ear pencil. He's holding a pencil behind his ear. I like it. I like details. So Command D to export or duplicate these materials outside of the USD file. Drag them into into FBX characters. Reselect them and place them into the appropriate folder. All right. I'm going to unlock this inspector and select Scientist 2 and relock this position. And so with Materials tab selected, I'm going to slot everything in, just one by one as we go along. And apply. Great. He does look shiny, but we will fix that as we get to that point. All right, so we can remove these characters, stand-in character, these working files. We'll remove them from our scene, delete. I will realign my scene to my main camera. And let's now set up the scale of our characters and ready them for animation. Start with Scientist 1, bring him in. It's very, very small. I'm going to put him toe-to-toe with one of my scale reference models. And then R for scale from the pivot. I'm going to make him a little shorter than my scale model, not by a lot, just by a tick. And I'm going to do the same for scientist number 2. And I will scale him from his pivot so that he moves up from his feet. I'll make him slightly taller than the scale model. Yeah, dig it. So in characters, I'm going to actually, scientist one, I want him to be holding a clipboard. I'm going to make prefabs of these later on, but for now, before I make either of these a prefab, I'm going to place a clipboard into scientist one's hands. Here's the clipboard. Scientist one, let's unfurl his hierarchy, find his skeleton, and just as with his glasses, we need to place the clipboard into his skeleton because as his arm moves, we want the clipboard to move. So clipboard, place into his, oh, the people came in small, but the clipboard comes in ginormous. No problem, we can scale it. And we will scale and rotate. So let's rotate and position. Still quite large, so we will scale until accurate or acceptable. Looks about right-ish. So let's reposition one last time and really get it seated into his hand, like docking a shuttle into a space station. All right, let's make sure his fingers aren't clipping. They look good. All right. So, with our clipboard enabled scientists, we can make prefabs. That a prefab is a reusable game object. I'm going to organize because I've got multiples of these characters now, correct? So I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to call this USD characters. I'm going to move my original USD characters into this folder. I likely could just delete them, but I'm not going to. Oh, that's all right. What? Let's just moving those caused me to lose links between my materials. So let me, you know what, maybe let's just move them back. Let me see. It's very strange, I think. Characters. BX characters. Scientist one. The textures are not here. Okay, well, let me, here, all right. So I could, just as I duplicated the materials, I could duplicate the textures and then assign them into the new materials. Or maybe I'm going to first take a shortcut and I'm going to see if simply placing these back into characters relinks It does. So it relinked them. So I'm just, man, I think I'm just going to leave them as is. Let me see if renaming these breaks my link. It does. So I'm just going to leave them as is, and I will remember what they are. So I'll do this. Instead of moving my USD files, I will make this uh, characters prefabs. In this folder, I will drag both scientist 1 and 2 from my scene into my project window. This will create a prefab for each. So you can see now we have our skin character with clipboard, and we have our character number 2 as well. Let's do some animation. To animate, we're going to use the timeline feature in Unity. So I'm going to create an empty game object in the hierarchy and name this timeline. Select my timeline window, and with my game object selected, we can see it's an empty game object. It has nothing other than a transform in space, but we are going to add a director component and timeline asset by clicking the create button in the timeline window. It will ask us to name this timeline asset and to choose a place to locate it. So I will call this Hangar Timeline, and we will place it, my hangar scene, in a folder called Hangar Timeline. Oh, I can see I've already got one, so I'm from a previous test. So I'm just going to name it the same and overwrite it. Yes, replace. All right. Now, here's our timeline. If I click on any other game object, timeline goes away because it only displays the timeline of the game object you are working with. So to prevent that from happening, I'll click the little lock in the upper right. Now I'm free to navigate throughout my project and hierarchy, and my timeline remains. Let's give scientist number, oh, nope, I've skipped a step. So we need to, in our FBX characters, under rig, we need to set up the animation type. We'll change it from generic to humanoid. We're going to create an avatar definition from this model and apply. We have no errors because we named all of those bones what they needed to be. If we had not properly renamed our bones first, we would have errors and we would have to fix them. Let's go to scientist number 2 and do the same. Change his rig from animation type generic to animation type humanoid and create a definition, avatar definition from this model. Apply. Great. Now, we can see we have our definitions. Now in timeline, we can drag one of these characters into, I'm going to do something first. Before I'm going to parent each of these characters. Create an empty parent, and I'll call this scientist 1. I'll use word rather than numeral to differentiate which is the actual character and which is the parent. So create an empty parent, scientist 2. Now, why am I doing this? I will show you. In fact, by way of demonstrating why I'm doing this, I'll parent 1 and I'll leave the other as is. So I'm going to drag scientist 1 to the timeline as an animation track. Now we need to give him an animation. I have in my project a conversation animation. So I'm going to drag this into timeline. We can see he spun around, but he spun around and he's in space. He's in the place that he was. Let's do the same for Cyan 2, who is not parented. Scientist 1 is contained within a parent, which means I can position him anywhere, and his animation just moves along with him, and he's repositionable. Let's drag unparented scientist number 2 as an animation track into our timeline. I'm going to add the exact same animation. Keep your eyes on the prize, on scientist number 2. Now you see him. Now you don't. Where is he? Let me show you. Scientist number 2 is way out here. You might think, oh, well, that's not a problem. I'll just move him into position, and then when I return the timeline, he'll animate where he is. Look what happened. Because he's unparented, the animation is controlling his position in the scene. We don't have control. The animation has control. So how do we get around that? We would have to, and I find this to be laborious. It's the recommended way, I think, but it's laborious to select the animation in the timeline, activate the reposition, clip, transform offsets, and then move the character. And now the character is right there. But that means every time you select your character and you move the character somewhere because you're tweaking, you're iterating through your scene, you forget and you're like, oh, the character's there. You have to go back into your animation. Then you need to activate and the transform, and then you move the character around, and then he remembers where he's at. To me, that may be the conventional workflow, but that's it's not frictionless. I like my way, which is parenting. So I'm going to remove this scientist from the timeline. I'm going to zoom in to our scientist number 2, and I'm going to position him here, anywhere in the scene, right? He's right before our eyes. I'm going to right click on his game object and create empty parent. We'll call this scientist 2. Now we will drag the game object, not the parent, but the actual scientist himself, as an animation track. We will give him an animation, and he does spin around, but he's in place, which means if we want him facing, so now all of the rotational and positional transform adjustments will be made at the parent level. So if I want him facing this way, I don't turn him, I turn his parent. Now he's exactly where I want him, anywhere I want. See how easy that is to iterate, have them have a conversation? Super easy. That's the way I recommend. I recommend that you do that too. It'll save you a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it's frictionless. So our character is animated, but let's examine scientist number 1 and look at things. The animation's not perfect. His elbows seem to be in his body. He's really tight. And also, I don't know. I think we can do better. So how do we adjust this existing animation? We started with an existing animation from an animation library, because to do this level of animation from scratch, to get his body sway, the motion of his hands, his head moving around, the timing to get it to look natural, that would take a bit of time. So by using an animation library, we have a collection of clips to select from, and we get pretty far down the line. But we want to make some customizations. We want to modify it. That's our next step. I utilize a tool called UMotion Pro. It is available on the Asset Store. It is not. This is not a paid sponsorship or advertisement for it. I've tried so many tools for tweaking animation. Unity's built-in tools, um, various paid assets, and they've been a bit laborious. UMotion Pro is the closest thing to wow. That just works, and it works fast. It allows me to get past the technical and into the creative really quickly. That's what I like. So you will grab UMotion Pro. There is a free version, but the Pro version carries the features that we need. And there are so many. The developer of UMotion Pro has YouTube videos on how to use the package, which are genuinely helpful. Not all developers make genuinely helpful YouTube videos or documentation, but UMotion Pro does benefit from this. So let's dive in. I have UMotion Pro installed in my project. So I've also created a layout for UMotion Pro. I will save everything. So here's my layout. And so the scene's really dark. So I'm going to make an adjustment so we can see what we are doing. I'm going to go into my atmosphere and lighting, post-production, select my inspector. I'm going to change the exposure. And I am now we're going to be working with scientist number 1. So I am going to in the clip editor, create a new UMotion project for type humanoid. It will ask me where I wish to save this, and I will choose in the hangar, in the scene, yes, here we go. Choose a new folder. I'll call this UMotion Pro Projects. And I will call this Scientist 1 UMotion Project. Now, before we go further, we need to assign which character we're working with from our scene. We are working with Scientist 1, so we drag Scientist 1 into the game object to animate. New rig detected, and it wants to make our character rig compatible with UMotion. So we are going to create a configuration and ignore and continue. Now, let us go into Pose Editor, Options. I'm sorry, Config Mode. You know what? I'm going to clear this. We are not going to bring in our character just yet because first and foremost, we need to set up our IK. Every project needs to work with, I'm going to create a new project. I'm going to undo this a little bit. So UMotion Pro, and we will overwrite this. We didn't do any work, so we're losing nothing. Beautiful. That clears the animated properties. The reason why I undid this is we need to find where do we, oh, we do it at the clip level. Okay, my apologies. I backtracked you and we didn't need to do that. So Scientist 1 into the UMotion, create config, ignore, beautiful. So what this gives our character an FK bone structure, but we want to work with IK. The reason why is that FK, if you want to move the character's arm, You have to animate every single bone in the chain, but with IK, you can just move his hand and his arm bones will move accordingly. It's far easier. I highly recommend an IK workflow. How do we get to an IK workflow? Let us import an animation clip into our UMotion project. So animation clips, we will add a clip. We will search for conversation animation in place. I'm going to work with this animation, open. FK to IK conversion. This is the setting I was looking for in the wrong place. It's here. At the time of importing your animation clip, you want to turn this to on. No, it is. I am so turned about. It happens. It happens. Where are we? Okay, there we are. Config mode, pose editor, config mode, IK setup wizard. We need to look at the arrows on his feet, and they are currently facing 180 degrees away from the direction he's facing. So we will invert this. You want the arrow to face in the same direction as the character and click OK. Leave everything as is and create. We now have a blue IK skeleton. Great. Now, with our project set up for IK, now we can import our animation clip. Select my animation file, choose open, and FK to IK conversion. Click this to on and import. When I do this for character number 2, we'll do this much more smoothly. I'm locking this into my own workflow as well, into my own mind. So we can see our character turned around. That's fine. His IK is in the correct direction. That's what matters. And we see a lot of bones, right? We see his blue IK bones and his white FK bones. Let's simplify this. I will choose Pose Editor, and we will go to Display, Rig Layer. It's displaying both. We only want to see the IK. Now, as I scroll along, we can see our character animates. These are all of our animation keyframes. If we were to animate, move the character's arm, that would only apply to one keyframe. We'd have to make all those changes for all of these keyframes. We don't want to do that. So here is the beauty of UMotion Pro, animation layers. I'm going to click on this icon here in the lower right and choose. We have base layer. Base layer represents all these keyframes. I'm going to create a new layer, which is additive or an override. I'm going to choose additive. Additive means if I move a character's arms out from his body, then that new position will control where the existing base layer animations take place. If I choose override, I'll lose all of the base layer animations and I'll have to animate frame by frame. I don't want to do that. So we're choosing additive. I'm going to call this arm adjustments. Click OK. Bring this into view. Now let's look at our character. So we know that his arms are way too close to his body. So in the first frame, I will grab his wrist, change the manipulator to global, just move this out a bit. And his elbows are close too, so I'll move his elbow orientation away from his body a bit. We'll do the same for his other arm. Move out just a bit. I'll adjust his clipboard, probably outside of this animation. Just that. His shoulders are low. We will. We need to choose auto key. So right now it was off. So I'm going to choose generate. I'm going to quickly just reposition his arms. With auto key generate, every time I make an adjustment, it will be automatically keyed for me. And that's a quick way of working. So now our character's arms are out. The clipboard is clipping, but we'll get to that. Do you see how his arms do not lose his existing base layer animations? They simply take place in a new position. That's a really fast way of working. We're modifying an existing animation and we're doing it so fast. All right, beautiful. What do I think about his shoulders? I mean, probably fine. What happens if just give him a slight tilt out? I bet they're fine, but I'm going to leave as is. Now, the animation is pretty fast, I think. I mean, he seems extraordinarily animated. I'd like it to be more subtle. So if I switch from the arm adjustment layer to the base layer, I zoom out. If I select all of the animated properties, and if we explain this, these are the keyframes for just the N58 node. These are the keyframes for just the neck. But this first layer up top, by selecting the upper animated properties, we will get these blue handles that span all of our bones. And we can just drag and elongate to lengthen and rescale the timing of our animation. So now we see that he's more measured in his movements. It's more subtle. I like it. It's more grounded, more realistic. So we'll move that to taste, and that's how we can rescale. So now we've modified his arm positions, and we've rescaled the timing of the animation. I think that while we are here, he's got this clipboard. Rather than being down at his side, I like the idea. We may return to this, but I like the idea that maybe it's up and out in front of him. So let's see. We'll make adjustments as we go because I'm certain the clipboard will clip into him at some point. But what does this look like? Let's watch. See what we. Oh, I like the movements of if the clipboard is up. I think we can move it higher. I think that it's more of a gestural thing in his hands. So as he's moving about, I bet we will get moments throughout the animation where he's actually gesturing. That's nice. Subtle movements are good. They add a bit of life into things. I like the absent-minded holding of the clipboard. Yeah, I dig that. Um, we could modify, let's see if we need to modify his wrist at any point. So far, things are all right. That's good. Um, just scrub through. So I'm going to grab his wrist. I'm going to give a subtle, actually, I need to undo that. I want to go just a moment before, about right there, and give a subtle tweak. I'm just going to rock to create a keyframe. And there we go. We're just creating subtle character tweaks as we watch and see what the animation gives us. Okay, in that position, great. That's a little better. And my reason for checking, I'm going to grab this keyframe and duplicate it near here. And I'm just watching for I'm looking for natural positions of arms, of wrists, and I'm watching for clipping. We don't want to see his clipboard go through his physical body. So far, so good. I think we're solid. So yeah, great. I'm going to export this modified animation. So we do that by choosing Clip Editor, File, Export, Current Clip. And if you see a dialog that says you need to create an export location, just follow the dialog prompt and click on the big blue button that provides you of Open Settings. Choose a destination folder, and then come back to the clip editor and choose File Export, and you will have your new animation. So let's go into our timeline, choose timeline, and lock it in place. I'm going to choose scientist one. Oh, so we can see that our scientist is currently locked by UMotion Pro. It's in use because of the literal eye icon. So before we can really get back into using Unity, we need to release our animated character from UMotion by clearing it from the animated game object field in the pose editor. So I'll click clear, and we can see that our scientist is returned to a prefab icon, and we regain the access to it in timeline. So here is the original animation. I'm going to delete this animation and go into our, oh, one too far. UMotion projects. There's our new animation. I'll drag this into the timeline, and you can see it's longer, and we have our new positions. Slower. Uh, Everything we did. These are the same animations, face to face, side by side, just on two different characters. One is extraordinarily animated, and then one is slower and more grounded. Great. So let's go. I'm going to align my scene to my main camera. I'm going to You know what we absolutely. Oh, I see some. Want to see iterative workflow in progress? I'm going to move the character's head so he's looking up because he should be looking up. The craft is above him. So I'm going to find my stand-ins, human scale references. Yep, I'm going to deactivate because it's been replaced by an actor. Let's go back into UMotion. I'm going to find my scientist and reassign him into the animatable game object field. My project is still open, so everything's here. Now I'll just navigate. See how seamless this is? So fast. I'm on an override layer. I'm creating a new override, actually. Let's do that. Create a new one, and this will be head adjustment. Additive. And we'll tilt his head up. And we'll tilt it, we'll turn it, let's see. Let's place him here. All right, let's see what it looks like from the main camera. I know he's far away, but I'm going to turn his head less and turn more of his whole body. So he'll kind of look off to the side just a little bit, but you can maybe, should he lean back just a bit? I mean, yeah, he's standing tall. Yep, that's better. So let's. Oh yeah, that looks so good. I'm also this is going to look fantastic once I've set him into his proper position in the scene, which I can do easily because I've parented him as we saw earlier. So I'm going to choose export this clip, current clip. Give it a second, let it do its thing, and let's release our character from UMotion. Beautiful, clear. Return to timeline. Let's clear that animation. Let's see, did it overwrite? Maybe, I hope so, because that would be the ideal. Ooh, our character jumped. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, do you see what happens when you move the scientist and not the parent? But thankfully, because my parent was here, I'm good. So I'm going to move the parent, which is the correct way. Sure, I say that I'm doing a thing and then I don't do it. There we go. There we go. Looks better. So, well, he looks off in that direction, so I don't care for that. Let's grab. I did have him kind of originally there. All right. So where his clipboard begins, where he gets a little more animated, it's probably where I'm going to begin the animation. So at the beginning of the scene, right after the big move. I'd rather begin with subtlety. Yeah, this looks more like it's less that he's gesturing and more that his arm with the clipboard is moving absent-mindedly as he observes and looks upward. Great. Let's animate our second character. What animation do we want to begin with? Let's go into animation in place, choose inspector, and increase the preview. Choose play. All right, this varying conversation, argument, sad, directions, gesturing to side, big idea, listening. Listening's probably I like listening, don't you? Um, might be just fine if we slow down his the what is that? The shifting from hip to hip. Ooh, gesturing up. I mean, there is a spaceship in the sky. Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. I dig that. Okay, so this is gesturing up. Go timeline, scientist 2. I'm going to delete this old stand-in animation and bring in gesturing up. And I don't know that we need to. Yeah, he looks good. All right, so let's move him into a position. Where would we like if I place him right there? So, I mean, I was using stand-ins, but we'll orient him properly. And we will remove stand-in. Let's go to main camera. Yeah, I want to begin with his arm up. Oops, but I did not do that. Let's, here we go. Wait, pourquoi? Um, so yeah. Oh, because I'm messing with the wrong animation. There we go. Scientist 2. And let's experiment. I mean, we're iterating, aren't we? So let's place them right under maybe. All right. Once we give him someone to talk to, I'm going to duplicate scientist 2 and rename to scientist 3. These are background actors, and ultimately, I believe they are going to be out of focus. Once I bring myself into the scene as a live action performer in the foreground, I believe I will be replacing this character here. We'll do a rack focus. But for now, let's drag Scientist 3 as an animation track. And let's position Scientist 3. I'm also going to scale because while the focus will help to differentiate, I think the scale will also assist and help fool us to believe that the background actors are indeed different actors. I'll likely give the face a different. I'll modify the material in a simple way so that the face will be the same, but from this distance we won't be able to tell. However, the skin will either be darker or lighter, or the hair will be a different color. What animation shall this one have? Probably listening. Listening loop, timeline. All right, listening 3. Face the one you're listening to. And also, we can slow this animation down because he's shifting from side to side. The way we can rescale the animation in the timeline is hold shift and drag the animation out. I'm going to do the same here. You know what? The listening, because it is a loop and I can't really see much movement in the listener, I'm going to shorten the timing again. And what will happen in the timeline when this animation reaches its end, the post extrapolation action will be to loop. And this is a looped animation, so it should look seamless. There we go. There's motion now. Before it was too slow, far too slow. Cool. Well, I'm also going to UFOs, find the background UFO. Where is the background UFO? I'm getting a little silly because it's about lunchtime. All right, there you are. And I'm going to, so it's the third one in the hierarchy. I'm going to look through the main camera. And I'm going to reposition the third UFO along global. There we go. So now it's slightly behind, but not hidden. Great. Let's go to the atmosphere because if we remember, in order to be able to visualize within UMotion, I adjusted the exposure. All right. One. Let's see. Maybe Scientist 1 animation. I think possibly. That's a little better. They're all three doing something at different scales. That's about right. Cool. What if, while we're here, Scientist 1, duplicate you and rename you Scientist 4, And bring this character foreground. Let's find our stand-in and bring in Scientist 4 as an animation track. Gesturing up, gesturing up, gesturing to the right. What's this look like from the back? Nope, left. Let's grab this animation, drag it, bring it to the timeline. We will definitely slow it down. And I'm going to remove this character's clipboard. So signs is 4, unfurl his hierarchy and find the clipboard. Clipboard, clipboard, board, board. Um, wow, there it is. And let's reorient and position. Mm-mm. So, I mean, he's definitely talking to someone. So that's not the right animation. Let's replace it. Scientist 4, we'll delete that animation and go with something far more subtle because it's probably going to be big enough of a foreground action that I'm entering the scene myself. So to make him sad. Sad scientist. Oh, they're all talking about the UFO and he's excluded. Make him sad. I'm okay with a sad scientist. What's it look like? Why is it jerky? Let's see what it happens. Sad. Actually, sad loop. Sad loop. Timeline. Sad loop. And slow it down. Let's look through the camera. That's where it gets sad. Uh, if I use this, I will need to tweak his arms. Oh, that's that moment. I like that beat right there. All right. Hey, let's clip start a new. Actually, we don't need a new project. I'm going to add a clip, import. I need to export this. Actually, before I go crazy, what does directions look like? Very animated, upbeat, low key. What's low key look like? Low key loop. That was low key loop. Just low key. don't know that I need this character to actually do anything other than look like he's not a mannequin. So I'm just going to extend it extraordinarily long. So this is sad loop. So I'll go project, gesturing, big idea, sad loop. I will bring this out of the prefab, go into clip editor, pose editor. Let's assign scientist number 4 to the pose editor. Let's add an animation. We'll find our sad loop. IK is on, import. We're almost done. Okay. Let's create a additive adjustment layer. What am I adjusting? I'm going to call this general adjustments because honestly, I'm probably going to adjust just mildly a handful of things. But it's nice that you can have as many adjustment layers as you want to be able to say, hey, this layer is just for the head and this layer is just for the arms. Local to global. Bring them out from the body, orient the elbows out a bit. We can do a little more. Let's find his neck. Oh, actually, we don't need to find his neck bone. We don't. Because on the base layer, we can just tilt his head up. All right, so let's go base layer, and I'm going to scale the time. Slow it down. Make our character a bit subtle. You know what? What if he points at one? Yeah, okay. Let's go right about there. I'm going to have him gesture toward the craft. So just give it a nudge, create a keyframe, and then Looks pretty good. And then copy the pre-existing keyframe and place it up there. So sun goes up, comes down. Well, up, 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 up. I moved his wrist, so I gotta place it correctly at the beginning. At the beginning. So right there, and okay, hand rotation. Copy you, delete you, paste. Let's see what it looks like from behind. Once I add myself to this scene, there's going to be a lot of bald men walking around this UFO hangar. All right, that's good, but slow. So let's speed that up. Good. Bring this out. Copy these. So his arm is in the air for a moment, pointing. It's too long. Yeah. Okay. And let's have his arm drop quicker. All right. Is that wrist? And now let's work with his fingers to make it look like he's pointing. Hands. Hands. All right. So his hands are open here. They will begin to close here. So we'll leave his index open and his thumb closed. And now he's pointing. And let's put his head up about right here. And we'll bring his head down about right there. So the head goes up. He begins to point. Let's see it from the angle of the camera. Yeah. Oh, you know what? What if he looks at me when I enter the scene? I think he should. So everything's going on about maybe about right there. Turn his head. Nope. Turn his neck too far. Lower body, upper body. So I'm going to, right here, set a keyframe. Then he will twist his body, leads with his head, then twists. And looks. This might look really unnatural. Ooh, yep. I'm going to, if I have him look at me, I'm going to animate this after I walk into the frame. After I do I'll do it at the same time that I choose to do the live action virtual production component so that I can get a realistic time reference. It's a good idea, but it's the wrong moment to do it. I'm just stepping back through my history here to undo those works. Let's export this. All right, that's good. Is he pointing, or did I undo the point? No, he's pointing. And I think I can create a mild keyframe so that when he's pointing, we can really see that finger from behind. There we go. That's a better point. Yeah. Oh, great. Let's export. File, export, exports. Wait, let's make sure this is sad loop. Yes. We don't want to overwrite our other clip. Export current clip. We'll just pop this into timeline. We'll give it a visual verification, and we will call it a day. Yes, we will. Timeline. Scientist 4. Let's release Scientist 4 from Pose Editor. You can see that in timeline, it's got the yellow warning icon, and along with the UMotion eye icon when they are locked by UMotion, and they both go when I hit clear. Perfect. So let's remove the original sad loop and add in the one we just created. Sad loop animation, timeline, placed in the track. Let's watch everything and modify anything we need through the camera. I could have, I probably should have. I don't want to, but I need to. I'm going to fix his finger so his hand's open, and then it'll go into the point. So let's throw him back into Scientist 4, throw him back into the pose editor, and go into clip editor. Go to the very beginning. I am on my adjustment layer. That's good. And right there, he begins to point, which means about right here, his hands are open. No, they're too straight. I I opened them all the way. He's got rigid hands. I'm gonna, since I'm working with his hands, I'm just going to breathe a little bit of life. Just kind of give him, you know, uh, some finger movements. It's not necessary, but we're here. I want to time scale these three. Copy, paste, paste. See what we see if it's even perceptible. Not really. Not really. So let's just make them a little more, a little larger. I went very subtle. I went too subtle. Cool. I think what I just did not do, I needed all each of these three keyframes needed to animate all three of the fingers. I think they were just animating too slowly over time. Copy, paste, paste. That's all right. File, export, current clip, current clip. And we are almost there. All right, close, release, timeline. Yep, all right. Okay, we have done what we have set out to do. We have created um, multiple characters. We've got 4 character instances in our scene. We have used existing animations and we have modified animations to suit our unique tastes. So we've done this quite successfully. I'm happy that we have done this. The next step, when I return to this scene, I will replace this finalized mannequin with yours truly. So right now we have a virtualized set environment. We have virtualized lighting and atmospherics. We have animated CG characters existing in the scene, and they are animated using CG animation. The next step, when I step into this world, will be to do a little bit of camera motion tracking within this world. So it breathes some real life, and I will add a real life human performance into this world so that we will have virtual characters, real life character, and I'll probably animate our ships a little bit too. And then do a little we'll tweak it, we'll make it a little we'll make sure that we'll give it last looks, and we'll sign off on everything, and we'll export a finalized virtual production. We'll soundscape it too, but I'll probably do the soundscape in the video editor as opposed in Unity. Wonderful. Thank you for joining me. If this is a real-time work session, so it's not fast, it's not slow either. It's when we think about what we're accomplishing, it's so quick. But I understand we are a social media uh, society, and anything that takes longer than 5 minutes can feel like an eternity. But this is extraordinary. I'm thrilled with this. I'm thrilled with this workflow, how quick it is, and I'm doing all of this alone. Granted, I am standing on the shoulders of giants who have created this engine, who have created these assets, but my imagination in my hands alone, no one else around. Look what we're creating. Look what I'm creating. And you can create this too. You can create anything that's in your imagination. It's fantastic. If you found this helpful, if you think someone else might find this helpful, help them find it. Help them find me and this channel with a like, a subscribe, or a comment. All three if you're feeling generous. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next installment. Bye for now.